Hello, Attorney Joe Giamanco here with Giamanco Law Partners, a Bolingbrook-based litigation firm. Today I'm going to give you a very brief lesson on proper service of process in the state of Illinois. Now, this video is not intended to be an all-inclusive, all-teaching, covering all issues kind of video. It's to give you a basic understanding of some of the issues of service of process and how it works. Now, in the state of Illinois, there are a few main methods of service of process. The first one is what's called personal service. Personal service is what it sounds like. A copy of the summons and complaint get personally served upon the defendant, meaning that a sheriff's deputy or a process server, those are the most common methods or individuals who will serve, show up at your door, knock on the door, ring the doorbell, person comes to the door as the defendant. They then provide them with a copy of the summons complaint. Oftentimes they will ask for certain information so they can document who the person was, they'll confirm the identity and so forth. That's personal service. Now, with personal service, a defendant can be served anywhere within the state of Illinois, and it's going to be proper service. It doesn't have to be at their home. It could be at their place of work, it could be out on the street, it could be at the grocery store, it could be wherever. Second most popular method is what's called substitute service of process. Now, substitute service of process is service at your home on any person who lives there who's age 13 or older. So if you have a 14-year-old child who lives at your home as well, whether it's your child or someone else's who also lives in the house, as long as that person is age 13 or older and lives in the home, they can receive service of process on your behalf, or on behalf of any defendant, I should say. Now, if a person is just there visiting overnight, it's not proper service. This is where things can kind of get a little messy, to be honest, because I can't tell you how many cases we've had over the years where a person has come to us and told us that they were never served because that person who received the summons complaint never passed it along. Now, if it is via substitute service, what should also happen is the process server or the sheriff's deputy should also be putting a copy of the summons complaint in the mail to that individual at that same address. So theoretically, they should be given a copy from the person who's actually served, as well as a copy from the mail that would come addressed to the defendant. So those are the two most popular methods, personal service and substitute service. But there are other methods as well. In fact, the state of Illinois has a statute that allows a judge to use any method that complies with due process, gives them reasonable notice. What that is, it's not exactly defined, but the idea, the concept is, if a person is dodging service, and this happens all the time, if a person is dodging service trying to avoid being served with a summons complaint, which is gotten a lot easier with video doorbells and video surveillance systems in homes, people can see who's at the door, and if they don't want to answer it, they don't even have to acknowledge that they're there. When a person is avoiding service, if a judge has information to believe that's the case and they have the right address and so forth, then the judge can order service via any alternative method. Posting on a door is very common, with a copy being mailed to the house. The Secretary of State is also an option at times. And in auto accidents in particular, if a person has moved out of state or is an out-of-state resident that was driving in the state of Illinois at the time of the accident, then Secretary of State service, meaning sending a copy to the Illinois Secretary of State, is a method that is allowed as well. So those are some of the most popular methods, the typical methods of service. Now let's talk about who can serve. In the state of Illinois, the parties who normally perform service of process are either going to be a sheriff's deputy or a private investigator or process server who's licensed to do those things. Now, in Cook County in particular, there's actually a statute that requires the first attempt at service to be via the sheriff's office. And if you want to use someone other than the sheriff's office, you actually have to get leave of court to use someone else. In the rest of the counties in Illinois, people can choose between one or the other. The sheriff's office tends to be a little less expensive. The private process servers, depending on who you use, may put in more effort. It's not to disparage any sheriff's departments. It just all depends on who uses, who you use, what kind of efforts they'll engage in, whether or not they'll provide you additional information as far as cars that were at the house and so forth. Personally, I like to use a private process server. We have one in particular that we use on a regular basis because he gets good results for us and he's easy to communicate with, and we can email him everything that we need. So when it comes to service of process, though, those are the main two things that happen, main two methods in terms of who can serve process. Now, technically, the court can also appoint someone who's not a party to a case to perform service of process as well. It doesn't happen very often, but in unique circumstances, sometimes it is something that is done. So that's the basics of service of process. Now let's talk very briefly about what happens when there's improper service. Okay? Unfortunately, there are a lot of default judgments entered against individuals when they don't actually get notice that there's been a lawsuit filed against them. And the entire point of service of process is to give the defendant an opportunity to come into court to fight the case. We see a lot of cases where individuals are named as defendants. Someone is served, perhaps at an old address, perhaps it's a family member where they never lived there, and the service of process is not correct, does not follow the law. And unfortunately, sometimes these matters end up in judgments against clients that later have to be fixed. Sometimes clients don't understand this process, they don't realize they have a defense because there was improper service. And if there's improper service, the entire case, everything that's happened, can be thrown out and the plaintiff can be made to start over. Now, it's not a simple process in terms of getting something like that vacated, but we do it. And we do it fairly regularly for clients when we find that the service has been improper. So, as example, we have had cases where people have moved away to college. And while at college, they have a lease there, they're living there full time, they're not coming home for the summers to live there full time. Maybe they go home and visit mom and dad once in a while, but they live at school, and that's where they get all their mail, and they've relocated. They have a credit card debt that accumulates, credit card company decides to sue them, they serve mom and dad at the home where the child grew up. Is it proper service? Under those circumstances, no, it's not, because the child no longer lives there. So substitute service on the parents is not effective because that child no longer lives in that home. Now, we've had a couple clients this has happened to in the past couple years, and what winds up happening is they find out about this judgment years after the fact as they're applying for a mortgage or a car or something like that. And then we have to go back and figure out what happened. And then we have to go back and prove they didn't live at the address that they were served at. These are things that can be fixed. They're complicated. Obviously, as a plaintiff, you want to make sure that you have good service because you don't want to have your judgment undone. As a defendant, especially when these matters are contested and the money's not owed, you want to make sure that you're given a right and time and the ability to go into court and contest these things. And if you have no notice that there's been a lawsuit filed against you, there's just simply no way to do that. So there are methods to go in and have those services quashed, have the cases voided and undone, and basically start over so that you actually have a chance to contest the matter in court. So those are some basics on service of process. Obviously, there's a lot more that can be involved in it, and the individual circumstances of your case could vary, which could make some of what I've just told you not helpful. If you have a question regarding service of process on you or on another individual, we welcome you to give us a call for a free consultation. Our number is 630-635-5555. Again, it's 630-635-5555. We provide free phone consultations on a regular basis, so feel free to give us a call. You're also welcome to check out more information that we have posted on our website at www.glawpartners.com or check us out on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Giamanco Law. That's Giamanco Law. If there are other questions that you have, feel free to give us a call, and we'll be happy to answer them. Again, my name is Joe Giamanco. Good luck out there.